with the theme that we started with, Quran, the final and complete guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Today we are going to talk about the order of revelation. As I mentioned before, unlike any other book that was revealed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Quran was the only book that was revealed over a period of time gradually. This is a distinctive feature of Al-Quran compared to other heavenly books. It was revealed over 23 years of Rasulullah's life. 13 years in Mecca and then 10 years in Medina. And the verses was revealed, the revelations came at different times under different circumstances. During the day, during the night, during the sleep, during traveling, on the land, in the caves, between the heaven and the earth. The revelations came all over and all the time. And subhanAllah, scholars have written books just about the revelations and differentiating about which revelation came when, at what time, where it was day or night, what season was it. People who are dedicated to knowledge go out of their way to find out as much as they can. But here, what was the intent of this? This is what is important to understand. What was the intent of Rando, my question, Rando. That's okay. I'm going to be okay. The intent of this gradual revelation was what? The intent was to make the guidance was relevant to every aspect of human life. And not only that the guidance was relevant to every aspect of human life, but to prepare the human mind to accept it as well. So if we can say it was like, you know, a training on the job. So the training was being done on the job as it was being revealed. Majority of the surahs, 114 surahs, according to some narrations, 89 and some 85 were revealed in Mecca. Either 85 or 89 surahs were revealed in Mecca, and the rest were revealed in Medina. And some were not revealed in either Medina or Mecca, but in other places where Rasulullah was traveling or going someplace, or in the Miraj, or in the cave of Hira, or in the Ghar Sur, etc., etc. Some surahs were revealed completely in Mecca. Some surahs were revealed completely in Medina. Some part of the surahs were revealed in Mecca, and part of the surahs were revealed in Medina, and vice versa. Now, there's a difference of opinion amongst the scholars about the exact order of revelations of Quran. Why is that? Why is that there's so much variations and differences in opinion about which surah was revealed at what time and which part of the surah was revealed at what time and under what circumstances? Why is there this difference? Important to understand. Because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself did not make any specific effort to note it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not require either Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam or us to know this and remember this. And therefore no effort was made to preserve this information about exactly which surah was revealed when. So then how did this come about? How did this come about? How do we know which surahs was revealed when and under what circumstances? All of that information comes from the memories of Sahaba and Tabi'in. So some Sahabi would say, oh yes, those verses of Quran, those surahs, I was there when it was revealed. These were the circumstances. And this is what was happening. And all of a sudden, these verses were revealed. And this is what's based on. And that's why there is so much difference of opinion about this. And then some verses were revealed repeatedly under the same circumstances. But circumstances were a bit different, but similar, and the same verses was revealed again. So then that's why when you look at circumstances when the surahs was revealed, you find differences. Some says that this was revealed at this time under these circumstances, and some other people will say, no, 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 it was that time under those circumstances. And that's why the difference is there. So it is not important for us to worry about which surah was revealed at which time and what were the circumstances and exactly is this right or is that right. Not important. Then why is it that I made it a topic for today?
This is a question.
Why did I make this topic today, order of revelation? Some times ago, when I was thinking about having a theme on Ahkam al-Quran, all the commandments that Allah gave in the Quran. And it occurred to me that Quran's Ahkam did not come in a compiled form at a certain time. Am I right? The Ahkam of Quran, the commandments of Quran, did not come compiled at a certain time, such as, for example, the Ten Commandments of Torah. So a curiosity began as to so exactly what was the order of the revelation of the commands, and exactly when these commands started to be revealed. What happened in the very beginning of the revelations? Were there many commands right in the beginning of the revelations? And as I looked through it, none. In the first 13 years of revelation, in 85 or 89 surahs of Quran, there is no commandment. Interesting. Why is that? And here is the deep understanding of the topic. Before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was going to command us to do something, it was very important, first of all, that He wanted us to believe in Him. Because mushrikeen of Makkah were idol worshippers. They did not believe in one God. Therefore, to give them any commands to the new Muslims would be useless. Psychologically, and here's a deep psychological principle. Even when you're teaching your children something, before you can ask them to do something or expect them to do something, what do? We make their minds. We train their minds. And on the right moment, we ask them to focus on this. And we psychologically, emotionally prepare them to be able to fulfill some of our expectations. If you get a 4-year-old, 5-year-old child, and you ask him to go grocery shopping, obviously he would not know what grocery shopping is. It's going to take him a long time to understand what is the importance of grocery shopping. So for the first 13 years, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala all the revelations was to prepare the humankind to accept him and to have proper aqaid and beliefs about Islam and about themselves, about life hereafter and about Jannat and Jahannam, have proper aqaid about it. Because without them, nothing would have helped. Nothing would have helped. Like Surah Baqarah says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alif Lam Mim, Dhalika al-Kitabu la riba fi. That this is the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's no doubt. Hudan lil muttaqeen. It will give guidance to those who are God-fearing. Bhai, pehle to you have to create God-fearing people. If you don't create God-fearing people, who would receive guidance from it? Hudan lil muttaqeen allazina yu'minuna bil ghayb. Those who would believe in not seen things, unseen things. Now you have to prepare people to believe something. Today, lots of our young people are going astray because they can see God. There's no proof of God. They cannot see Jannat and Jahannam. There's no proof of them. Their minds are not prepared for accepting this. So the entire 13 years of revelations were focused on mentally, psychologically, and emotionally preparing humankind to accept the guidance, to develop proper belief system, and thereafter to implement it. So then, what are the topics that the Makkan surahs address? 85 or 89 of them. Read every one of them. And these are the common topics, themes that you would find there. Number one, belief in one Allah. Believe in one Allah. That is what its focus is on. There's no God but one. Number two, belief in the day of judgment. That the life here is temporary. And you are an accountable being. देखो भाई, even today, many people don't understand. We, our generations, our younger gen, don't understand that we are accountable beings. That we are going to be held accountable for what we do, what we choose to do. So the belief in the day of judgment is geared basically towards what? Developing that sense of accountability. That there's going to be a day when you are going to be judged for how you lived the life on this earth. Third thing, the good deeds and bad deeds and their punishment and rewards. What does that tell us? What does that teach us? Be mindful of how you behave. Be mindful of how you behave, because your behavior would have consequences. Today we have that problem still. We just make choices, we behave, our children behave, they do things, and they don't think about consequences until they are upon them, good or bad. So the third theme of these revelations was be mindful of your behavior. You know, in my work, this is one thing that I teach to people that I work with. Allah has given you the liberty to make a choice, correct? And Allah has given us the liberty to behave any way we want, correct? We have the choice, we have the freedom. But remember, and I'm not talking about right now what Allah teaches us. Just remember, based on your life experiences, every behavior, every choice you make would have consequences. Khalas. There's no two ways about it. When people come to me with, oh, I think I'm this or I'm that, or I don't think I can change this, or I'm stuck with this. That's your choice if you feel stuck with this. If you think you are gay, okay. But remember, there's going to be a consequence of that choice. There's no two ways out of it. If you think you are this, if you think you are that, there's going to be a consequence. No two ways about it. As long as you remember this, you would not blame somebody else afterwards. The fourth thing was the belief in the hell and heaven, which is what does it that teach us? There's going to be a final reward for your good deeds and a final consequence, punishment of your bad deeds. And even if this belief in hell and heaven teaches us that even by some ways we can avoid the consequences of this behavior in this life, we will not be able to avoid it in the life hereafter. And we know that lots of people get away from lots of bad things they do, lots of wrong choices they make. But we know there's no getting away afterwards. When we believe this, then when we are behaving, our vision is long term. I'm going to lie to my wife, I'm going to lie to my husband, I'm going to lie to my children, I'm going to lie to my parents. I'm going to get away with it. But then, with this mindset, this belief system firmly established, yes, I may get away with this, but what about Allah? It reminds me of the story of a group of people in the time of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam traveling. One famous Ali radiallahu anhu was with them. I don't remember the name, but anyways, and they ran out of food on the way. They saw a shepherd, and they said, "Could you please give us a goat because we ran out of food? We'll purchase the goat from you." And he said, I don't own these goats. These are not mine. I'm just a shepherd. I work for somebody else." So, subhanallah, he was asked, "Well, your master is not here. Your boss is not here. He would never know. These are like hundreds of goats. Sometimes, some wolves get them, some animals get them. He would not even know." You know what his response was? When he said that your master is not here, is watching you what you're doing, you know what his response was in Arabic? Ain Allah. And where is Allah? This is the mindset that was being developed in the first 13 years. Ain Allah. Allah says in the Quran, Alam ya'alam bi anna Allah yara? Alam ya'alam bi anna Allah yara? Don't you know that Allah is watching you? Where's this verse? In one of the Makki surahs. Next point, developing a good moral character. Developing a sense of wrong and right. And next one was invitation to virtue. Be the best you can be. Not mediocre. Be the best you can be. Because Allah created you as best of the creation. So be the best you can be. Don't settle for marginal. That reminds me, the other day there was a fatwa class going on. about Ramadan. And most of the questions were, if I'm eating and I forgot to see the clock and I kept eating and I realized that it was 2 minutes ago, that is my fast still good? And all these questions were like marginal questions. The question is, why did you wait that long to eat, man? Khalas, right? Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has mentioned that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us a boundary within which we can play. Correct? And Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, don't lurk by the boundary because you take the risk of stepping out, trespassing. We are always on the boundary. We're always looking for the least we can do. Am I right? The least I have to do to get by, to get away. And without fail, we end up crossing the boundary. And without fail, then we don't even care. Allah maaf karne wala hai. My niyyah is good. So I ate after Fajr, after Salah. So what? My niyyah was too fast. So that's good. Then we make our own Islam. So, invitation to virtue. These were the only surahs with sajda. All the sujood contained in the Makki verses, Makki surahs. These verses contain the word kalla. These surahs contain the word kalla. Kalla means what? Never. And every statement after the never is, this will never happen. This can never be. Those surahs are all Makki surahs. All the surahs with muqatti'at are Makki surahs. These are short surahs, and the verses are as well small, short verses. Qul huwallahu ahad, Allahu samad, lam yalid wa lam yulad. And you look at the Madani surahs, long surahs and long verses. Sometimes one verse is the whole page. Next thing, there's very almost nil legislation in Makki surahs. There's no rules and regulations in Makki surahs. These verses, these surahs also contain stories of Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam from before. And also, these verses, these surahs, in their writing is poetic. This poetic nature of the rendering of the surah is found mostly in Makki surahs. And lastly, all the khitab of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to human being is in the form of, O people, Ya ayyuhan nas, or O children of Adam, Ya bani Adama. Why? Because there was no Muslims. There were just people, and all children of Adam. So all the addresses in those verses are Ya bani Adam or Ya ayyuhan nas. Those were the qualities of the Makkan surahs that are distinctive features of the Makki surahs than Madani surahs. Let's come to the Madani surahs. Madani surahs, now, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam migrated, and a community of Muslims was established. Correct? Because the people of Medina, the Ansar of Medina, had already accepted Islam beforehand. And which is why they invited Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to come to them. And when Allah gave the permission to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to migrate, a first community of Muslims was established. Now, this community of Muslims that migrated from Mecca and that had heard all these revelations from before them and brought faith, their faith was established. Their aqaid, their belief systems were established. So much so that when the commands came, for example, for the prohibition of the drinking, we all know what happened at that time. No questions asked. Khalas. Whoever heard that command that today intoxication is prohibited, drinking wine is prohibited, they did not even bother to come to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to confirm it. He was right there. They did not bother to come to confirm it. Whoever, wherever they were, just dropped, their liquor and said that on that day, the streets of Medina became rivers of wine. This is how convinced they were of their aqaid and of the truthfulness of Islam. So therefore, social responsibilities and obligations, commands about that started to come. And the first one of them was what? The brotherhood between Ansar and Muhajirin. Because now the brotherhood needed to be established. The Muslim community needed to be established. Therefore, guidance had to come. This is guidance on the spot as you live your life. Subhanallah wa hamdihi subhanallah. This is why I picked this topic. Guidance by life. As you live your life, here's the guidance. You're dealing with this, here's the guidance. You're dealing with this, here's the guidance. If it came in the book form, it would be difficult to find it at the time. It is for us now. For us now, we have a compiled Quran. If you're looking for some specific guidance, we can't readily find them. We have to go to Google, we have to search this, we have to ask ulama, like, where would I find this now again? Oh, it is in surah number so and so, in juz number so and so, verses number so and so. But there, it was on the spot. And this is the beauty of understanding the order of revelations and how it provided the guidance. And this is what we will continue. But let me finish this part. So the social responsibilities and obligations commands about this is one of the main topic of the Madani surahs. Second, permissions related to jihad and commandments about jihad. Because now there was not only the need of establishing a community, establishing a society, but defending that society. Because all around them were enemies of Islam. All around them were enemies of Islam, even around the Medina. So there was a very important need to be able to now defend. Up until then, there was no hukum for jihad. Nothing. Because the danger was all around them. And the danger was personal, not community-wide. The danger was present in Mecca, but the danger was individual. Like people wanted to kill Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, people wanted to harass and kill the new Muslims, etc., etc., etc. But now the danger is around the whole community. So the commandments and permissions of jihad came. The third, these surahs largely describe all the obligations, rewards, and punishments. It was all in Madani surahs. All the obligations and the rewards and their punishments. The fundamental characteristics of these surahs is that they express social, legal, governmental, and war and peace rules. This is how this is how you develop a society. This is how you develop your legal system. This is how you develop your government. This is how you deal with war and peace. Everything related to building a nation. Because that's what a nation does. In a nation, you have a society, you have a legal system, you have a government system, you have ways to defend yourself and how to remain peaceful. Is that right? Every government, every country, every nation is about that. So these are the fundamental rules that we see. The surahs are long, as I said, and the verses are very long as well. Also, it is in the Medina that the incorrect beliefs of the Jews and Yahud and Christians were corrected. In the Meccan surahs, there are stories of Anbiya and Qasasul Anbiya are there, but the corrections that the mistakes, the errors that they made, the Jews and Christians made in their books and their stories were corrected. And those corrections were made in Madani surahs. And also, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala identified hypocrites. It was in Medina as well, in their seerahs. How their status and their deeds and how to recognize them. Not only, the intent was not only to identify the munafiqeen. That was one of the intent. But the intent was for the community to stay away from nifaq. For the new community to stay away from nifaq. What? Hypocrisy. Don't say one thing and do other thing. Don't say I believe this and do something completely against it. That's not Islam. That's nifaq. That's hypocrisy. And hypocrites who were going to remain hypocrites were identified as well. And how should Muslims behave towards them? Dekho, in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had identified all the munafiqeen at the time. Am I right? As a matter of fact, one or other Sahabi knew about that list as well. Correct? And I don't remember which Sahabi, was Ali radiallahu anhu or one of them. They knew the list. Because it is after the demise of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that Umar radiallahu anhu asked Ali radiallahu anhu, I don't want to know the list, just tell me, is my name in there? This is how they were scared of nifaq. So what should be the Muslims' attitudes towards nifaq and munafiqeen was also identified. That look, there's going to be hypocrites among you. They are now, am I right? But how are we to behave towards them? Number one principle, don't point fingers. Number one principle. You're going to have hypocrites always. Don't be yourself one. And don't point fingers. That he's a munafiq. हमारे तो आम है ना. This is common. He's munafiq hai. He's munafiq. Leave it, he's munafiq. Haram. We have been asked not to do that. So these are some of the characteristics of Makki and Madani surahs. Now here's the most interesting thing. So as I mentioned, in the first 13 years of revelations, the revelations were focused on establishing a mindset to accept the guidance and firming unshakable belief system, aqaid of Islam, amongst the people there. These surahs, like I said, are prime examples of preparing mankind mentally, psychologically, and emotionally to accept the fundamental beliefs of Islam and to submit themselves to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But it's very interesting. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had to prepare Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as well. Because this was the beginning. He was the beginning. He was going to be the beginning, correct? He was going to be the bearer of the revelation. He must be prepared too, correct? Wallah, subhanallah. You know, as I studied it, as I read it, it's just I cannot say subhanallahi walhamdulillahi wa la ilaha illallah wallahu akbar. I cannot stop praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's wisdom and how his Mashiach works and how he prepares things for things to happen. So, how was Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam prepared? That's where we'll start next time. How was the first human being who was to bear this huge responsibility, how was he prepared? And that will be the topic of the next Saturday, inshallah. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa alihi wa sahbihi. Subhana Rabbil Aliyil Azim. ربنا تقبل منا صلاتنا وصيامنا وقيامنا وركوعنا وسجودنا ودعانا يا ارحم الراحمين. ربنا تقبل منا انك انت السميع العليم وتب علينا انك انت التواب الرحيم. ربنا اتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الاخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وقنا عذاب القبر وقنا عذاب الحشر وقنا عذاب الميزان. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة انك انت الوهاب. اللهم توفنا مسلمين والحقنا بالصالحين غير خزايا ولا مفتونين. ربنا اغفر لي ولوالدي رب ارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا. اللهم اغفر لأمة محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم ارحم أمة محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم تجاوز عن أمة محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم احفظهم اللهم انصرهم بكل مكان من كل سوء. اللهم إنا نسألك من خير ما سألك منه نبيك وحبيبك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم ونعوذ بك من شر ما استعاذك منه نبيك وحبيبك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وأنت المستعان ولك البلاغ ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. صلى الله تعالى على خلقه محمد وآله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا رحمن. This is such an important topic. This is such an important topic.